Three, two, one. Hello, everyone. This is Jochen, and I have Frank here with me today from the world's finest clubs. And today we're going to be talking about how the world's finest clubs streamline their sales and onboarding process and increase their booking requests by an average of 56% per month without adding any headcount. Cool. Frank, let's kick it off with this. Maybe you can share a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself and your business.
Yes. Okay, so my name is Frank Tigani. I'm the head of sales and marketing at the world's finest clubs. So we're a global concierge service, and as the name suggests, we have a focus on nightlife.
Okay. How many clubs do you have roughly under management?
Yeah. So, I mean, rather than under management, clubs that we work with, that we have a business relationship with, as listed on our website, is 172 at the last count. And but our concierge service actually does go way beyond that. These clubs that have agreed to be listed on our website and that we showcase their venues to our members, but we also send our members to various other venues around the world, including restaurants and nightclubs as well.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So you're globally active, let's say.
Yeah. Yes, a global business, and predominantly a concierge service. So, like with any concierge service, wherever people want to go, we'll make suggestions, and like sometimes these places are listed on our website. Many times they're not. Probably 50-50 split almost. Probably about a 50-50 split. Yeah.
Okay. And what's any kind of things where you think like, okay, where you stand out for other concierge services? World's finest clubs. What makes you unique?
Stand out?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there are many concierge services around the world, global concierge services. I think what makes us stand out is that we really do have a focus on nightlife. We have a much closer relation to a lot of venues. We have much better knowledge, I think, about the venues. Most concierge services around the world, they don't have a niche. They don't focus on a certain niche. They will organize your kids' birthdays, pick up your laundry, and send you to a nice restaurant. We don't know. All our knowledge is really focused on nightlife, and that is not just nightclubs, but it's also bars, lounges, restaurants, supper clubs, which are a bit of a hybrid between a restaurant and a club. So beach clubs as well. So that's our advantage. It's for people who want to enjoy the night, and also not just like in their own town, but when they're traveling, we do organize their hotel, their accommodation. So what we really do really well is if you want to go have a great weekend in Barcelona, we'll get you into a nice hotel. You'll eat very well and you'll party in a very nice place.
Nice. Barcelona, Boston, London, Zurich.
Yes, Barcelona. I mean, we're based in Switzerland, so naturally most of our business is EMEA. So I'd say Europe and Dubai. But then after Dubai, yes, the USA would be naturally a major market for us. Yes.
Interesting. Cool. Let's go back to the beginning of our relationship. What were you doing before you worked with us? What was the situation like?
Yeah, it was not the best situation, to be honest. I mean, my experience, as my title suggests, I mean, I'm a marketing professional, and I was really focused on digital marketing before that. And then when I arrived to the finest clubs, my role then did morph into not just marketing management, to sales and marketing. And that's when I took on that position, my current position, that's when I realized there was some issues, some serious issues in terms of how we managed what is the essence of our business, which is selling memberships, managing those memberships with our clients, and also managing what we do for them, which is the bookings. It was a terrible sight because it was basically done using Excel sheets. So a very sort of disconnected, network of documents, of Excel sheets, and literally like disconnected. Nothing was, and therefore, completely inefficient, and a lot of inaccuracies can come from that. And another problem is that, these are internal things, but these internal things reflect externally as well, because when you don't have, when you have inaccuracies, when you don't have all the information, when people come into the company and they leave, that knowledge will leave with them if there's not a place where it's all centralized, and that can have an effect, on your business, on your relationship with your members. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
That
what
was
was
the situation.
okay, so you touched a little bit on the frustrations already. So what are like the frustrations internally and also on the customer side, if you can elaborate a little bit more on that.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously internally there was, I mean, naturally there's frustrations because things aren't efficient, things aren't, there's inaccuracies, and when I mean inaccuracies, and a lack of information, regarding individual members, this starts to show, and this causes, internal frustration. This can cause, internal conflict as well, because that's what stress sort of leads to, let's say. So internally, I mean, inefficient, inaccurate, and makes the day-to-day managing of the business, that much more difficult than it should be, especially in 2019, which was the year we took, we decided to move to Salesforce. And then obviously from the member side, the communication was inconsistent. I think our lack of knowledge of our individual members was obvious. That was exposed on many occasions, and I think overall that does affect the customer satisfaction, whether they're willing to stay loyal and renew. When we're a membership business, and so every year people have to renew, so they have a time to think. They reflect. Sure, is this a good product? Is it not? So yeah, the frustrations internally were borne out to the member.
Okay.
So that was yes.
Okay. And how did you then hear about us? Or what sparked, like, let's say, the interest? Okay, now we need to tackle this.
Yeah. So the interest in the journey to getting to Salesforce was a fairly long one, because this was an issue. The issues that I've just discussed, I mean, these were things that I saw. And not being a CRM expert, I had actually never worked directly so much anyway with a CRM. I had done some marketing on CRM systems before, but nothing to the extent to which we eventually have done at Finest Clubs. So the research started from myself, to be honest. I just started researching. I didn't know too much about CRMs, but I knew that CRMs existed, and I knew that there was I mean, first of all, I knew there was a better way to do this, and then it wasn't long before it's like, okay, I realized that's what a CRM does. So it was really just a lot of education or research from my side into learning what a CRM is. I mean, literally Google, what is a CRM?
Yeah.
You sort of start the journey from there.
Yeah.
And then,
Cool.
because it's a new thing, I did quite a, in-depth analysis. So, we sort of whittle it down to a short list of CRM systems, looking at the benefits, the costs, the advantages, and one that would suit our business. I mean, there are a lot of similarities in these CRM systems. They sort of all do the same things, but like there's lots of different features as well that they can offer. So how did we get to Salesforce? I think we sort of ended up having a short list of 2 or 3. And then probably one thing that swayed us is that we had a new colleague who had worked with Salesforce quite a lot. So I think at one point it was, if I may mention them, I think we're looking at HubSpot, and then there was another one, I forget the name, and Salesforce. Internal discussions kind of just like led us to Salesforce. I mean, I think it's been around for a long time. It's very established. It's got very good awareness, market awareness. Even if you've never used a CRM system before, you kind of know the name Salesforce, and that's how we sort of decided on to move forward with that. And then once we moved into Salesforce, then naturally, you make inquiries, you start speaking to one person, and that person leads you to another, and then eventually you meet Joachim.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Not a lot of people are aware of that, but you basically have three parties involved in that. You have you, the customer, you have
Yes.
Salesforce who gives you the licenses, and then you
Yeah.
have like independent, consultants like myself who
Yes.
help you to customize it to your needs
Yes.
and really make the most out of your investment.
Yes. Exactly.
Okay, so what were can you speak a little bit about the results you've seen since you worked with Salesforce?
Yeah. So I mean, our integration took a lot longer than expected. That's for sure. There's predominantly two stages to our integration. So if I can just sort of paint the picture, the context there of, and then before I mention sort of the improvements that has brought us both quantitatively and qualitatively. So I mean, the first part of that integration was really just getting moving to Salesforce as soon as possible to manage our bookings. So that was really the first, that was really the first port of call, let's say. And we started doing that we made the full switch at the end of September, definitely from the 1st of October 2019. So the last quarter, we were using Salesforce exclusively to manage bookings. And we also had moved basically all the data had been moved over as well. So all our membership data was there. We weren't managing because of the second stage was moving was updating the website. So having all the Salesforce forms on the website on our membership page, so that when people are signing up and becoming members, that information is being sent to Salesforce. That process took a lot longer than expected because of the design of that page. We changed the design because we changed our product as well. So we were doing a few things at the same time, hence it took a bit longer, but we have completed that process. But yeah, we've been using, I mean, definitely for all bookings since October 2019, and since October 19, we also had all the members' information on there. Mm-hmm. And even though it wasn't connected to the website, we were manually updating it and sort of refining it, making it accurate, moving a lot of data. You're going to have, I mean, as much as you try, you're going to have some inaccuracies, some things that you didn't realize you needed before. So there was a lot of sort of adjusting the system, let's say, So, Jochen, I think, you got to sort of to that stage. And then when we got to that stage, we were like, oh, we need a custom field for this as well. We need to add this as well. So that was a really big learning process for myself in particular, learning how to use Salesforce, not just as a user, but, going into the setup and exploring it more and seeing how it works. So yeah, we've been using it. And then I think in 2020, even before having having all the forms connected so that the integration is absolutely complete, we have been managing all our memberships on that. So every renewal from 2020 in January, every renewal we've sort of been making sure that member is moved to the system, that all the information is accurate and it's running on Salesforce. It's been managed on Salesforce. Obviously on Stripe as well. That's our payment system as well. But yeah, so 2020 we've been managing it, memberships. Yeah.
Okay, so you're just to sum that up. So you have your sales, let's say, process or onboarding process for new members on Salesforce, and you have your booking also when customers want to book a venue. You manage this also on Salesforce, which you both before used to do with the custom-made tool by an agency, correct?
Yes. I mean that whole process. I mean, and the move to Salesforce really allowed us. I mean, because it's such a great tool, it allowed us to really improve that process as well. Whereas before, I mean, not only was the data collection management of bookings and memberships sort of just completely disconnected and sort of irregular, but it wasn't consistent as well in terms of the communication to them, to our members, whether it was for a booking or for a membership. So inconsistent. That's what we've been able to do with Salesforce with some automated and manual workflows. That process is fixed. Okay. It's consistent. And yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's good to hear. So you moved that over and you streamlined the communication, the processes, and you have like consolidating all the communication with your customers, with the venues, and also with the members actually who are booking these venues on your with your with your offerings.
Yes.
So why did you decide coming with you went for you said okay, Salesforce is the right tool.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to do business with us, with me?
With you.
Yeah,
I mean,
because
to be honest,
there are a lot of other people out there.
yeah. I'm not sure if we ever told you, Joachim, but we did shop around. I mean,
I
obviously,
forgive you. I forgive you.
well, I mean, that's our doing our due
That's the way it
diligence, let's
is.
say. We were very happy that we ended up with you, let's say, but we were all novices. There was no one internally in the business that had ever gone through that process. I led it myself. I had not only let alone from leading, the project to move a business onto a system like Salesforce, but I never worked with a CRM system on a daily basis. So we were all sort of novices. So it was a massive learning process. So I mean, when we decided to go Salesforce, we approached them, and then obviously Salesforce is a huge company. They have people managing your account, and they lead you where you need to go. Initially, we were discussing with with other consultant companies.
Yeah.
Companies that, well, from what I remember from memory, they're actually dedicated to this, to onboarding people on companies onto Salesforce. I mean, we're a very small company, so I can imagine if it's a huge company, it's a huge process, and you might need that manpower, perhaps, to go with a company that really has a team to help you get you on board, especially when you have a bigger team yourself. We did shop around. We realized, because we are such a small business, we don't need so much manpower, let's say, and it's a lot simpler when there's, it's a small team and a small business. The process is much simpler, or should be much simpler. So Salesforce, our representative or our account manager, I think knew you, and they recommended, after we had sort of looked around, and once they had understood, what our needs were, our business needs were, that's when they gave us recommendation to work with you, and and it worked out very well. I mean, obviously, there was some frustrations from my side in terms of the length of time, but it wasn't like that was from our side. That was caused from our side, or not our side actually. We blame our developers for that because they took so long to always make make adjustments. So it did go a little bit longer than we expected, but that is really exclusively down to the developers we work with, who we've since changed. So that's
okay.
We shouldn't have those problems for future problems.
It's constant learning process, and IT projects. They oftentimes seem very straightforward, and there's always maybe some details in there. So you need good developers, you need good guidance in order to complete that on budget and on time. But there's a reason why this is such a challenging field, let's say.
Yes.
And
Yeah, I mean, there are other parties involved, So there was you, there was us, and then there was our developer. And the developer has to make changes, and if they don't do them on time, or if they're stalling, then it's sort of out of our control. That was probably another learning, is that like a project like that, you really need to have a team that is like coordinated and sort of ready to go from the start. And so perhaps, I mean, from our side, if we were to do a project like this again, we would really 100% make sure that whoever is working our website, whoever is our developer at that time, would be ready to go forward with it, and not just developer, but all parties. But I mean, in terms of our relationship with you and how it worked out, I mean, we couldn't have been more than happy. We couldn't be more than happy because, I mean, you did your part super well, and I think you're very, very patient with us, and patient with us not just because from your side it would be like, okay, it's taking so long for them to make changes, but also I think, well, we were absolute novices, so we probably asked a lot of silly questions at the start.
No, they're
patience in terms of tolerating our questions and accepting the delays that came with that.
There are no dumb questions.
That's a good philosophy.
The point is, I've been there myself. I've been there a long time ago, a couple of years ago when I had my own family. We had our own family business. I
Yeah.
never understood what the IT guys did before I acquired that knowledge. And I was like, well, why is that taking so long? And I had no idea, but now I have a better understanding. It's not like part of this is the technical challenge, but it's also like a project management challenge, just to make sure who is responsible for what and who
Yeah.
delivers what on time in order to move to the next stages.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
it's again, it's for every company. It's a learning process, and
Yeah.
that's why there's maybe some guidance helpful for someone who's not doing this every every day. Let's say.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So, what do you recommend working with me with us then?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if I should have asked in the last question, said this in the last question, but I mean, it goes without saying. I mean, from all the things I said, it has improved our business. I mean, I think you wanted sort of to touch on this. So, I mean, in terms of since we moved over to Salesforce, we can stay in a very small team. I mean, what it does the work of speaking specifically about our concierge service. I mean, what it does there would have taken using the old system probably two more people to just make sure all that information was correct. So definitely in terms of manpower, it enabled us to do so much more, and it's definitely shown in our results. I'm not sure if you want me to sort of mention that, but
Happy,
we had
please go ahead.
yeah. I mean,
Numbers are
just
always good. Like, what's
yeah.
the added benefit in terms of revenue, cost,
Yes.
cost savings, all that sort of things? Yes.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I mean, what we do now in terms of the membership, in terms of the communication to members for both the sales process, for the membership cycle, let's say, or the life cycle of the membership, and the bookings that which is the service that we provide. I would say roughly, we would need probably two, maybe three more people to do the work that we do now with Salesforce, and that is like to make sure that all that information is correct, updated, and that the communication is sent out on a consistent basis. If we were doing it how we were doing it before, that I think at least two people, because a lot of that work is very time consuming. Salesforce does require you to learn actually how to use the system as well. I mean, if you myself, I've become adapted the setup. I can go in there. I'm not completely lost. Also, there's the Salesforce Trailblazer, I think, the community. So that's a wealth of information.
Definitely.
There's nothing, and I think all users have a responsibility to understand that, to learn a little bit about that, because little changes here and there, you don't need to call anybody. You can make them yourself, and so in terms of saving cost. I'd say you're saving two people at least. And we're in Switzerland, so that's a lot of money. That might be 5, 6 people, 7 people in other countries in Europe. So the massive saving on the cost side of things, we saw immediately an improvement in bookings, and not just speaking quantitatively. I think for the last quarter of 2019, there was a 56% increase in bookings year on year compared to the final quarter of 2018, and the year ended with 120% increase in bookings. Obviously, we're only using Salesforce for the last quarter exclusively, but that month, that quarter was the strongest. So what was the difference between that quarter and the other quarters? Salesforce. So we can sort of put that to Salesforce, or credit Salesforce with that. We're saving money. Definitely have improved the booking service quantitatively, but also qualitatively. Without running any sort of widespread survey, which we plan to do soon. And again, that's made it a lot easier using Salesforce and the applications that you can use Salesforce to do that kind of survey. But just with the response that we've had from members without asking them for it, we've actually had a lot of positive feedback, because when moving to Salesforce, we created some nice emails. They were sent on a consistent basis, whether it was for their membership renewals or whether it was for the process of making a reservation in a nightclub. So we had a real lot of positive response, which we were not getting before. I mean, I can pretty much say with absolute confidence that before, definitely we never got any compliments in terms of digital communication. But not that I was so privy to that information before, because before I was sort of working in marketing, but a small team,
Of course.
I hear what's going on, and I never, and definitely, when good things are happening, they are shared with the team. That I can't remember that happening before. So, you know, that's been really because of Salesforce. I think I look forward to when we can actually do a proper survey and get sort of everyone's feedback on that, because I think the feedback would be, in terms of the digital communication, everyone's going to be
Yeah.
will be much happy with that, and that's what we've seen. So it's improved our business qualitatively, quantitatively. It's helped us save money. It's helped us, increase our improve our service and actually do more for our members, which increases the customer satisfaction, increases the likelihood that they will remain a member with us and be in a membership company. I mean, the loyalty side of things is very crucial to the business. I mean, no company gets 100% renewals every year. I mean, that really is
It's not possible.
That's just not possible. You're always going to lose some. But how much you lose is critical to your sustainability, your longevity, and having a business that that is improved both internally and externally with communication to members for all communication, whatever the reason. Can only improve that renewal rate that we have with current members. And getting new members as well. I mean, for all the digital marketing razzmatazz, let's say these days, word of mouth is super crucial still to sales. You can market to people. You can get your name out there. They might see an ad of yours on Facebook or somewhere on the internet. But if they're recommended by a friend to do that, they basically go to the end of the funnel, the sales funnel already. And a lot likely to convert. So, so I mean, it's been fantastic for the business. And it's been a new skill that I myself have learned. So another feather in my cap, let's say. But it's improved the business out of sight, and it just makes working so much easier. I mean, it makes it removes so many frustrations, so many internal stresses, let's say, and more importantly as well, one thing I haven't said is that how we were working before, it was not scalable. So now we do have. I mean, 2020 has been a difficult year, and we do for everybody. But we do have a B2B partnership that we hope to launch soon, and we hope to have others like it, but potentially, it could be very good for us. We know that they have a very big database themselves, so if they're pitching out. And so now with Salesforce, we're not worried about the idea of getting huge influxes of members, active members, because Salesforce, you can scale your business up. I mean, and you can do a lot more with a lot less people. And if tomorrow we get 1,000% more, like 1,000% increase in memberships, then we might need to get new employees, even with Salesforce. But definitely, we know that without it, the thought of that increase in memberships would be frightening. Without Salesforce and working how we had worked.
So you maybe don't have to add 50 people, but 3. Let's say you need to add 3-4 people, but not like. Disproportionate, not in line with the overall growth you're experiencing then.
And leading to the question whether we'd recommend you or not. I mean, Salesforce, once you have it, I mean, it's a tool. It helps you save a lot of cost in terms of how many people you need in the office. But Salesforce with what you can do in terms of looking for help yourself, but also Salesforce support, and then I think the beauty of working with you, like being a freelancer, I think freelancers by nature are a lot more flexible. So as I had recently a question for you, months after doing our project with you, there's support there, you know what I mean? And that external support, I mean, it's kind of like an extension of your own team. And that's really, well, that's invaluable. So going to your original question, because I deviated somewhat, but for a good reason. Definitely would recommend working with you. I mean, if someone asked me tomorrow, we're gonna be, we want to get Salesforce, we want to migrate to Salesforce and integrate into our business. So I definitely would recommend you. I mean, because I don't have any other experiences to compare it to, but I had a great experience with you. No, but I mean that's true too.
Yeah.
But I mean, I had a great experience with you, and we did think about working for a big agency or a big consultant company to do that, and we do work with agencies to this day. But the great thing working with freelancers is that they are flexible, and you get to know them better, and I think they get to know you better, and they get to know your business better. So definitely, I would say it's it's been a great experience for all things considered, and definitely would recommend you. I haven't had the chance to do that yet, Joachim, but if I do, I'll definitely be letting you know.
Thank you very much. I'm delighted to hear. No, I think it's very important what you mentioned there, because it's not the point that you have to be a full expert on all things on Salesforce, but you need to have like some internal knowledge to just get like, okay, well, I need an extra field here. I need to run a report. There's no point in not owning your tools to a certain degree, but there's always going to be things like, okay, I'm not going to hire a Salesforce developer full time for just like every 3 months I have a question. That doesn't make any sense. And the reason you also, in my experience, you need to own a little bit to a certain degree your tools is like that your use cases and your customer expectations and your own processes, they change over time, and you need to be able to adapt to this quickly. And you brought that up, a very, very important point, that it's been, of course, a learning process for you. But there's always going to be some parts where, hey, I need a little bit of help, and I cannot wait, let's say 3 weeks for that, because it's stopping my business basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're a small business. I'm the go-to person, let's say, in asking questions about this before we have to go to Salesforce support, or perhaps yourself. I did make quite a few changes. I mean, once I learned how to make custom fields, it's very exciting. So then we start thinking, oh, maybe we can do this as well and do that as well. So I mean, if you're using a tool, I mean, you need to know what you're using. I think because we're a small business, everyone's got a bit more of an idea about it. I mean, I can understand how in big businesses they really want to make it so that everybody's environment is very much restricted. That's what you do, and that's all that you can do, and that suits that. But in any business, there needs to be if you don't have a Salesforce developer, I think there's one person that needs to really have a bit of information on it, whether they have experience on it or they learn how to use it. It's not that hard to learn how to use it. It takes a lot of time, doing some research, but there's so much information online about that. And I mean, if you know how to use it, then even when I come to you, we can understand the possibilities even more. And over time, when things change, you can adapt your business. Let's say, if I don't know, a pandemic happens or something like that, where things get really turned upside down a bit, and that's been part of it as well. Like, so we've had to adjust this to the current situation, and I mean, everything that we do in terms of in regards to our members is through Salesforce. So knowing how to write your own classic email templates and putting them up there and sending them out to somebody, that's something that I think maybe not all end user Salesforce people use Salesforce in their business. Not everyone knows how to do that, but you need someone who knows how to do that.
Definitely
do your business.
Definitely. Okay, so who do you think me is a good fit for? Like, who would you say, well, that's a good fit for working with me? What kind of businesses? Yeah, what types of businesses? Is it small businesses? Is it large businesses? Is it specific industry? What is just your general feel? What kind of specifics does business have in order to be successful or be a fit for me, let's say?
So, I mean, obviously, this is my first experience with Salesforce, with CRM, integrating a CRM system. Like I said before, it was the right choice to go with you, because we are a small business, and you're a freelancer, and it made a lot of sense. And also because we were novices as well. So just having that sort of I think when you're just working with one freelancer, you're only dealing with one person. You can build a bit of a relationship, I think, and for a small business that makes a lot of sense. So I can only really speak for that. I think, well, definitely in terms of small businesses. I mean, I think we are very small, even though we're sort of a bit of we have global reach to say, and we're dealing with businesses all around the world. Our headquarters is quite small. In terms of a medium-sized business, I mean, I suppose it depends a lot as well. I mean, Salesforce is not just one thing. It's it's a CRM system. And you've got the marketing cloud. You've got, I think, 8 different clouds or something like that. So, I mean, I don't know how much more. We only wanted one particular thing, right? Which is the sales platform, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we just took on that. So I think the scope of our project was relatively small, perhaps. And let's say a company that has 50 employees and let's say, I don't know, 1 million people, 1 million members around the world, and maybe they want like 3 or 4 clouds. So I think. Yeah, if I was to do a project tomorrow and be like, okay, there's 3 or 4 clouds, and like if I move to a business tomorrow and there's 50 people that don't have a proper CRM, they want to move to Salesforce and they want 4 clouds, you're definitely going to be my go-to, that's for sure. I mean, because because of my experience with you. But in terms of, I mean, it'd be if that was the case, it'd be sort of more for you to learn about how much you can take on, I suppose, in terms of the size project. Because I mean, you're one-man show. I mean, maybe if you take on a bigger project, you need extra help yourself. I'm not sure, but I just don't know that. But I can imagine that for bigger corporations, when they want to take on, when they want to move to Salesforce and they want to, I mean, even just with one cloud, let alone taking maybe on 3 or 4 clouds at the same time, that would be a huge project.
Definitely.
And maybe there'll be more stakeholders both within the company, dealing with you. And maybe for you that could be, I mean, how many can you sort of manage at one time? I mean, suppose as a freelancer you have projects that you take on and you understand the size of them. So if you've got 4, maybe you can take on 5 small projects at one time, or like 2 small ones and 1 big one. However, but so I mean, definitely small medium businesses. I would say yes. If tomorrow I became the president of UBS, I probably wouldn't put it all on you to migrate us to CRM. Definitely, I could ask you and make you part of the project. But definitely that would just be ridiculously large in scale. So,
definitely, there are certain things that I do and there are certain things I don't do. But there's been also some changes in my business. So I take on also bigger projects, but I really focus also on enabling the champion within the company and make sure that this person has an easy way to get started within weeks and is the go-to person for me. And then we take this project further and further, because if you start with the huge projects up front, there's a lot of, as you said, there's a lot of stakeholders. There's a lot of, I want this, I want this, I want this. And you really it's easy to get distracted by things that are maybe not as important. So yes, but definitely I hear you, and that's a good point. I'm not doing like 3-year enterprise projects with 100,000 users. This is not what I do.
Yeah, I mean, some of these projects will take years, I suppose.
Yes,
I think with
definitely.
I used to work for Starwood Hotels, and then Marriott bought Starwood Hotels, and all the internal systems changed, and that was a 3 to 4 year project.
Yes.
Naturally, I mean, that's probably, you don't get probably much bigger than that. Marriott, 5,000 hotels around the world, a lot of loyalty members from 2 loyalty programs coming together. So that was a 3-4 year project. So I'm honestly, once you get to that scale, it's a different story. But definitely small, medium businesses. I think you could probably, what you did with us, you could do for any type of business, like in terms of the industry that it's in. Because at the end of the day, CRM does CRM. And whether you're selling flowers or making concrete or doing a concierge service, it's a CRM system.
They have all customers.
They have customers. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. So just a little bit more, we're coming towards the end, regarding World's Finest Clubs. You work with a lot of clubs, venues around the world. Just curious, what is your number one piece of advice for all the club or venue owners? What you see is like, what are the ones that are successful, that are ones that, I know these are challenging times at the moment, but in general, maybe, and also for you to say, well, what can venue or club owners, what should they specifically pay attention to?
Yeah, okay, so that's great. They're going to get me in trouble if anyone watches this that we work with from nightclubs. That's okay. I'll put myself out there. In terms of my advice for nightclubs, of course, now it's very, very difficult. The situation for nightclubs in 2020. Hopefully, they will survive it and get through it and adapt. We wouldn't want to lose nightclubs. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So that would be a lot of fun taken away from life. But I'd say like advice for them. I mean, I can look at it two ways. I mean, my experience was in hotels, which is hospitality. So sort of coming from hotels and then working with nightclubs, the difference could not be more stark. Like that transition. Hotels are very conservative by nature, very professional, very, very sort of formal almost as well. I mean, everyone in a luxury hotel, that's the culture of it.
Yeah.
Because you're providing a luxury service to people, and so in the boardroom, in the meeting room, when you're having meetings with people in hotels or regional offices, it's quite a formal process actually. Even though it might be W Hotel and it could be like a cool hotel. Um, so I mean, coming from that, and just what I have learned about businesses, nightclubs generally are not run very professionally. Let's say. They are a unique business. I would not be surprised if they don't have CRM systems even. That all might change now because nightclubs that are open now, they have to be much more accountable to who comes in. I've seen that some clubs in Spain, they've got they're taking people's information in, kind of like we do with
Yeah.
with a lead form, let's say. So people that come in now to nightclubs, I think in the future that they're they can all be potential leads because they're getting that information out because they might be forced to. But previously that was not the case. So I think, yeah, I mean, their professionalism, I'd say, probably needs to be greatly improved. Some nightclubs are, they've got like a team of, they've got a marketing person, they've got a salesperson, they have some structure. A lot of clubs, even successful ones, they're kind of run by like, the guy that owns it is the manager, and then his girlfriend is perhaps doing the marketing and the PR for it. So that's the nature of that business. So my advice for them would be, would be to maybe run yourself kind of like your professional business. It can't hurt.
Yeah.
It can't hurt in terms of tracking your stock, how much you sell. Knowing who comes in, making sure that everyone who comes in or sees your Facebook page, you know how to reach them, you know how to draw more people in.
Yeah.
But a lot of the nightclubs just run off their name as well. They have this. People go from one nightclub. There's always a fashionable night, especially in places like London, but even in all the big city, like clubbing cities, let's say, people kind of know where to go. The crowd moves.
Yeah.
Where the crowd. So maybe.
Gotcha.
It's a different business, but I'd say my advice would be, professionalism. I'd say, having a bit more of a formal structure because they don't.
Yeah.
When we talk to businesses, we get different people speaking to us all the time. It could be the owner, it could be the owner's wife. Sometimes they might have a proper marketing person, but it's completely unpredictable. So then, like all businesses, they should have there should be kind of like a norm, let's say, in terms of the structure of that business. You have a restaurant, you have a chef, you have maybe a maitre d in a high-end restaurant. You've got your waiters, you've got your owner. And that doesn't always translate into nightclubs.
Yeah, I hear you. That makes it even more important for you to manage this relationship properly, I guess, because there's so many different. Like, it's not that one business they all run in the same way. Like that you make sure, okay, what's the communication with this person who's responsible in this club or venue for X, Y, Z. See,
it makes it harder. I think
it makes it harder. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, a lot of them are cool guys, and they get a lot of interesting characters in nightclubs. But I mean, just in managing those relationships with venues, it can also be difficult. I mean, when we moved to so bringing Salesforce back into the play here, with a system like Salesforce, you want to do everything through like email communication, for example. Okay, yes, sometimes you have to take phone calls, but just one thing that is peculiar to the nightclub industry is that they all want to talk via WhatsApp. So and WhatsApp is really informal for me.
Yeah.
I think I think it's possible somehow to connect WhatsApp to Salesforce, but I don't think it's not designed for that. I think maybe in the future, definitely
It
it may
is. It is
a
in the
lot.
meantime. Yeah, yeah. It's
It is
possible.
possible,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It is
So
possible.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's probably something we need to look into look into, I suppose, because you want to be able to like track that history, that communication history with venues. That's really important, and you know, you always want to keep them back to emails, and even if you want to keep them on emails, even because like when you make an agreement, for example, an agreement on an email, you can write a formal email and it's a lot more formal and it's a lot more trustworthy.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
say
Yeah.
reliable an agreement. Whereas like on WhatsApp, it's very different. So yeah,
Yeah.
um,
Okay. Got you. Yeah, yeah. Salesforce did something in the one of the previous releases regarding the WhatsApp integration.
right. Might have to look into that.
Okay. So yeah, wrapping up. Where can people find you or World's Finest Club online for people who are like, okay, well, that sounds like an interesting concierge service. I would be very interested in partying with you in Barcelona, London, Zurich, whatever. Where can they find you online?
Yeah, right. Okay. So finestclubs.com is where you can find us. We are upgrading our website as well, so watch this space.
Very good.
Like I mentioned before, our membership has changed, so we have become a fully fledged concierge service. We used to have a more of a card concept with our business. So you sign up, you get a card, and then you sort of do what you like with it, go wherever you like with it. But now we're a concierge service, and we're global. I mean, we know where to go. And yes, 2020 is probably not the best year for nightclubs. But there are clubs open. Definitely, beach clubs are open, and we also look after restaurant requests, hotel requests, and VIP events as well. So our sister company, A Small World, they do a lot of events, physical events around the world, and so we offer something similar. We offer a lot of the Small World events actually as well. So I mean, lots of reasons to become a part of Finest Clubs. I mean, if you want to enjoy the best when you go out, it's probably a great way to go. I think compared to other concierge services, I mean, I think our knowledge of that industry is second to none.
Yeah.
Definitely with things changing as well. I mean, so maybe you go to nightclubs, maybe you think you know them, but maybe they're changing because they're closing down, new ones are opening up. With the situation we have, we see a much more of a move to bagatelle type venues, which is restaurant lounge type. It's a lot easier within the current environment to actually have a business and run it like that. So with things changing, we like I said, when it comes to knowledge of the industry, we're at the forefront. Things are changing, and we see that change firsthand. So that could be a great. I think that is some real value there for potential members.
That's cool.
Like I said, for all the things that we've done, we've made some massive improvements over the last year and a half. So definitely, the product has improved out of sight. When you improve things internally, you improve things externally. Very excited about the new website as well. The new website will be much more user-friendly, a much more modern appearance, let's say, and not just the website in general, but just the experience as a member, interacting with that website, which hopefully should be done by the end of the year. We have a new product, which is the concierge service, the new website, the new, sort of a much enhanced user experience, and all these things, give us reason to be kind of excited about the future. Hopefully 2021 as well, like things just sort of ease up around the world, and we can really go back to enjoying nightlife.
Fingers crossed.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Frank, thank you very much for taking the time.
Thank you, Jochen.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you. And talk soon.
Talk soon. Thank you.
Take care.
Ciao, ciao.